I think, to society just in general. So this 5.4% CPI is a real eye-opener. It's the highest CPI we've had in 30 years, and of course, it's going to go higher here in the next few months as energy feeds through it. So for an investor in particular, most of this audience, it's absolute death for a 60-40 portfolio, for a long stock, long bond portfolio. So the real question is, how do you defend yourself against it? How persistent will this be? And what does the outlook hold? And there's a combination of structural and cyclical forces that right now are all rolling in the same direction to say that inflation can be much worse than what we fear. So let's just start with the cyclical forces first. We have the demand side of the equation, and that would be M2. M2's grown 5.4 trillion since the pandemic began. That's $3.5 trillion greater than what it normally would have. That $3.5 trillion, 16% of GDP, just sitting in liquid deposits that could go into stocks or crypto or real estate or be consumed. So that's a huge amount of dry powder that's just sitting there waiting to be utilized at some point, which is why inflation's not going to be transitory. So that's the first big, I think, cyclical issue. Also, don't forget, we just raised, another demand factor would be, we just raised benefits for Social Security retirees as well as military, about 75 million by 5.9%. That's just more fuel to the inflationary fire. The second big component would be the wage pressure that we've got. And the easiest way to see that is obviously job offers relative to unemployed. We're 10.4 million job offers, 7.7 million unemployed. It's clear that we have a structural issue in our labor force that's not going to be solved by 0% interest rates and quantitative easing. So if you take those two factors and then overlay the structural issues, and there are four big ones, the structural issues, you really paint a very bleak picture on inflation. The structural issues are, first and foremost, we have a Federal Reserve Board that are inflation creators, not inflation fighters. So that is a huge